not want a change this large happening on Bitcoin. It's just absolutely a no-go. We've talked about these types of changes before on Bitcoin, and even the smallest change can affect the scarcity, the security, just the soundness of the money, right? We always talk about, sound money, and there's only a few factors that matter around Bitcoin. And if you're making a change and you affect the scarcity, the security, um, anything that of the core kind of credentials of Bitcoin, then it's over. The entire experiment of Bitcoin is over, and we're going to be left with fiat or scrabbling around for bits of gold. So if we're going to change this network, we better be 100% sure that this change is so needed that it's worth risking all that. And look at this. It looks like a massive change for a potential benefit that might help us in 30 years' time, where most people don't think there's even a problem anyway. So it's a freaking cast iron no from me. I'm out.
Boom, we are back. This is the Bullish Bitcoin Banter and Bullshit Pod 111, 111, brought to you in part by Mr. All-In, aka the $1 Trillion Man, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution, Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, and surprise, surprise, Mrs. No Show, aka Still No Show. Nowhere to be seen. So last week we had a new surprise guest, the Bitcoin Bride, but we're back to normal proceedings.
Just start with, who the hell does she think she is, saying that she's replacing me? I may have eaten her food at her wedding. I may have taken the gift of a Bitcoin standard, but too far. It was a good listen. Pretty gutted that I missed it, but obviously couldn't make it. I was just going to say, you didn't mention my favourite part of the wedding.
What's that?
It's when your brother said that you were jealous of him because he was getting bitty and you weren't. And your mum just sat there just kind of like...
Yeah, that's normally what she does over dinner whenever we're around. She's just like... Yeah, well, that bit wasn't really Bitcoin related. That was just, yeah.
Yeah, it's just childish humor, which I think I was laughing so much I was almost sick.
Yeah, I think weirdly there's a photo. We've got a couple of photos being sent through now, and that's one of them. Because my brother's holding the mic, and me and my dad are creased, and my mum's just looking at Vic, being like, "Is she okay with this?" And Vic's obviously laughing. So I'm pretty sure that's the bitty line.
Something which you didn't mention was, obviously you gave up the Bitcoin standards, which you talked about for the wedding gifts, which we really appreciated. Now, on another table, there were some, I suppose, notable businessmen, we could call them. And one of them, I've never spoken to him about reading. Obviously, he's very successful, but he was talking, oh yeah, I'm going to read it. So that was interesting. He said he would. Well, actually, two of them did. I didn't catch a big dog what he was going to do, because I'd be very interested to see whether he'd read it. But all of them super successful, so it'd be great, once they've read it. I'm guessing you're the person who they get in touch with if there is any feedback.
Yeah, no, I was very pleased with their reaction to it. They all said they would read it, yeah. And bizarrely, having an event like this, one of the people I didn't think would be orange pilled, which is a nice side effect of what we did, is the guy that was running our wedding and some of the staff that were delivering the food. So he left his number in my wedding book saying, best wedding ever. Da, 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 da. Here's my number. I want to learn more about Bitcoin. So I was getting round to texting him. I hadn't. But then my brother texted me anyway, going, oh, the lad that was running your wedding, he asked for my number as I was leaving. He's already bought the Bitcoin standard, and he's been asking me all about Bitcoin. And so it's good because
That's
he
good because that's even one person is still another. It's still that kind of like knock-on effect, isn't it? Because someone who becomes a Bitcoiner doesn't just stop believing in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But inadvertently, someone that's picked it up.
Oh, great.
He said he'd ordered it the next day. He was asking me on the day, have you got any more of those books? I was like, not really, bro. Like, it's not. I'm not just got them freaking lying around. Like they're all personalized and to each individual person that's here. So no, I don't. But just jump on Amazon. You can just grab one yourself. And then when he was talking to me, he's like, oh yeah, I've done a bit of trading in my time. I was thinking about in Bitcoin, and straight away I went, oh. And obviously it's my wedding day. I didn't have time. I just walked off. But already my brother's reined him in, and he's gone, no trading, no shit coins. We're Bitcoin guys. If you want to talk to us, we're Bitcoin by the Bitcoin standard. And if you read it and then ask questions after, but don't really talk to us much until you've read it.
I think once you've read that, you just don't think about trading, do you?
No, because that's the thing that always frustrates me. You mentioned Bitcoin and we're talking about, money. And then straight away they're like, oh yeah, let's trade it. Like, what are you trading it for? Like, we're talking about a new form of money. If you're just going to buy and sell Bitcoin, then fundamentally you're selling back into whatever fiat you were using before. That is completely not the point. You can just trade on the stock market now. It's so annoying that Bitcoin and trading just seem to come hand in hand. But it's one guy, and actually, there's another good side effect. Actually, so this is one of Vic's very elderly family members. She was probably the oldest person in the room. She got a text of one of her nieces talking about some type of shitcoin. Her niece was getting into it on the advice of her new boyfriend, and she would never have texted Vic about this, but she texted Vic going, "What do you think about this? Can you ask Gareth what he thinks? Is it a scam?" So obviously, Vic being Vic, she doesn't even need to ask me.
What was the shitcoin?
I can't remember, and it doesn't matter.
Hex or something like that?
No, it wasn't one I'd ever heard of before. So it's clear. It's brand new, apparently. It's the next Bitcoin. So
did Vic reply, Bitcoin, not shitcoin?
in not so many words, yeah. Yeah, she was a bit nicer than that. But it's great though, because straight away there, within a week of the wedding, there's a load of people in my family and friends that are now reading it that had never my dad started reading it for the first ever time. And he actually came up to me.
That's strange considering
I know
you're in the family.
I know. But like he's just been he said he had read it and he said he'd done Bitcoin lessons, but obviously hadn't really gone in. And he was talking to me on the weekend about rhinestones in Yap Island. I'm like, and it's suddenly starting to click that, oh, this is what money is. He's like, I never really understood it. I'm like, it's so nice to see these pennies drop, and because I kind of spent money of my own to gifted it to them, they've gone, it's rude not to read this now. At least he just went, and he just spent an hour reading it, and he's like, I'm hooked. I want to read the rest. I started it doing it as a favor. Now I love it. I want to finish it. So I'm like, there you go, man. This is it.
Yes. See, the missus, she promised to read it after you think you were drunkenly taking her apart about Bitcoin and everything else.
On his wedding day.
Someone's got it.
Probably not the best choice of words, but she was asking me questions the next morning on the drive home about Bitcoin and just general money and what it all meant. But she has tried to back down from reading. She said, I won't enjoy it. I like reading my fiction. And I'm just saying to her, just read the first 50 pages, 100. That's literally all I'm telling you to read, just so you can understand the basics. So it's still a work in progress, but she did show more interest.
Yeah, well, again, my story, as I said to you guys, is it's now next to my bedside table. I'm reading it slowly, a couple of pages a day, because I've got other books on the go, but it's just interesting reading it with a different viewpoint, and also how I'm piecing it to other things as well. So we talked about watches, and we talked about, and as you just said, Mr. Orlin, about trading. And one of the first things that I've now come to learn is when you first go in, they're all about whether or not you're going to trade this item or not, because it's double the case in terms of how much you'll get it for. So they know that they are effectively giving you a license to print money, and they want to understand your credibility. And so already I'm thinking, well, I've got 111 receipts here to show that my credibility is sound, and I'm all about sound money. When we went through the boom, none of us sold, we bought, and we carry on, and we continue to carry on as well. So yeah, it's really interesting in terms of it, and I think, as I said, I'll write an agenda which we'll come back to in later pods, covering the Bitcoin Standard book.
That'll be a bit of a hefty one. I might have to reread it. It is a point, like I read it. God, what would it be? August, September 2020. And then I reread it about a year later. And my viewpoints changed massively. So I wonder what I would pick up off a book.
Yeah. We've said it many a time before as well. People find it very difficult to do nothing, or just to continue doing the same. And we'll come on to it in one of the stories on the agenda, but just continuing to be happy with how Bitcoin works right now is difficult for people. Hence the reason why they want to change it. Whereas it's in its most purest form still pretty much what it started off as Satoshi wanted it to.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah, and I think it's really reminded me as well to go. Everyone's questions about Bitcoin are that they can't understand the answer because they don't really understand the question they're asking. It's literally like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. What's the answer to life, the universe, and everything? And they wait for thousands of years, and the computer just comes back and says 42. And then they then have to ask the machine again, what does 42 mean? Because the problem was humans didn't understand the question they were asking, so they didn't understand the answer either. I think that's so the same for Bitcoin. And I almost had forgotten that, because the reason why people don't understand what they're asking about Bitcoin is because they don't understand what money is. And I almost keep forgetting that. And it's that you need to understand the history of money. And if you haven't spent literally just a couple of hours reading the Bitcoin Standard, read the first 100 pages before it even gets to Bitcoin. That is the bit that every single person pretty much on the planet is missing. Unless for some reason you studied it.
You can get it off a few other books, though. So like there's, what was that investment? Why do stocks go up? Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And there's just keep buying. And these give you a bit of what the principles are, because it helps you understand inflation, and it starts to build some groundwork.
Yeah.
Whereas I suppose Saifedean, it's probably the most succinct 100 pages about money.
You need to go back to ground zero, yeah. Start at bartering, and then explain why money even existed. The coincidence of wants, and then you just progress from there. All the poorer forms of money that were perfectly sound money at the time, but then technology advances and they become unsound, and then the scarcity is gone. So we evolve to a new form, and then you go, okay, so why are we on fiat? And you go, well, there's all these explanations. We came off the gold standard. It's all fine at the beginning, and then it completely got out of control. And essentially, we are now a version of Yap Island, where there's ships blowing up the neighboring island with dynamite, loading up their ships full of rye stones. Yet we're still working our asses off for a tiny little scrap of rye stone here. Yet the sea is full of ships with rye stones.
I may tell you, with that dynamite, they're stimulating the economy.
Yeah.
and also as well, I think now everybody's perception of money is effectively, paper money. And when you reread it, you remember, as you mentioned, things like rhinestones, but in prisons, the form of money is cigarettes. So money isn't necessarily that paper thing or the electrical, the electronic digital thing. It's that exchange, isn't it? And it's the
Yeah, it's got
as
to
you
have the
said,
scarcity, and it's got to have that work in order to get it. So, like cigarettes, you've got to either buy with, I don't know, some kind of like job in a kitchen, which then builds up the currency, which then allows you to buy the cigarettes, then allows you to trade for whatever else.
yeah,
Whereas the fact is, what we're living in is, oh, how's that money get produced? They press a button, and you're kind of going, but I'm building my riches, as they'd probably call it, spending my time working, but they're able to dilute it.
yeah,
And
Which,
I think what's also great in the Bitcoin standard is it's the consequences of being wrong. Like
mm,
what happened to the people that were wrong and didn't switch from one form of money to the next and were just stuck in their old ways, going, nah, this has always been money, always will be. They lost everything. Yeah, whole
so you
nations
got
were
it
enslaved.
was India and China both went to the silver standard,
Yeah.
and it set them both back. Like China's had multiple times, and it's taken until what is it, 30 years to go to get going again because they had the silver. Then they also had their fiat experiment, which was probably before when they just printed a shitload of government issued money and made it worthless, and they destroyed their dynasties.
Yeah. And that one's almost like a half mistake. They spotted that the previous forms of money were going away and it was between gold and silver. They just picked the wrong one. But then you got, whole continents like Africa who just rejected precious metals completely and stayed on their agri beads. And they lost
mm,
their entire continent to the Europeans because they just mass produced these glass beads and brought everything off them, brought all the land, all the property, all the animals, and then went, well, it's fine, we own it now. You can work for us. Or what are you going to pay us in? We'll pay you in beads. It was slavery. They accidentally slipped into slavery, but it was
yeah,
voluntarily to begin with. They thought they were rich because they were getting paid 10 times more in beads than they should have before. But they had no clue that the scarcity had been removed from these beads now. It didn't take weeks to produce a single bead burning in a little campfire. They had huge furnaces back in Europe and they were pumping these out 1,000 by the minute. And and it's and I think it just makes people reflect and go, holy shit, am I doing that now? Am I that person that is holding some glass beads in their hand? And they absolutely could switch those glass beads to gold. You could switch your fiat into Bitcoin. You can do it right now. Or are you going to wait until you've sold all your time and all your assets for glass beads? And then one day someone's going to go, we don't accept glass beads anymore. How much gold have you got? Or how much Bitcoin have you got? And they're going to turn around and go, none. And it's like, okay, can I switch my glass beads to Bitcoin? Well, no, good luck. No one wants glass beads. They're worthless. There's infinite of them. I know you sold your house and your business and everything for them, but literally no one will buy them off you for a single sat now. They are worthless. And I think that really does, like, it starts to hit home with people and go, holy shit, this isn't just oh, let's ride the hype train, let's make some money. It's more of a, do you value what you have now? Do you want to keep it? Switch it to Bitcoin. This is a safety play. This isn't a go to the moon, get rich quick scheme. It's almost the opposite. It's a slow and steady, keep what you've got kind of game.
well, it's funny as well, as we were talking offline in our group as well, when I mentioned about the council. What people don't realize is that that news article was effectively a news alert to tell you we are going to increase the taxes or whatever form of way that we take money from you, and that we're not in debt and we're not broke. It's you're broke, as in you, the public. are now
and
broke.
you're still going to pay the services which we won't deliver. So your bins won't be picked up bi-weekly, which we've moved them to. They're going to be picked up every month now, and that's what they'll start doing. And you'll get less and less and less as they become more and more bloated, because they don't have the constraints because they're government. But what's funny is, if you read, which one is it? Who Took My Pension? Robert, whatever his name is, I can never remember his surname.
Yeah, exactly.
He talks about how all these public bodies went broke, and then they started defaulting on all the pensions. So this is literally the first stage in the UK. I've always said it's 5 to 10 years behind. What's going to happen? Birmingham City Council will default their pensions to their workers, and all the other councils which are in debt, like my local council's in debt and is overspent, they're going to go on that. They're going to try and charge us. I'm going to be like, fuck off. I'm not paying you anything if you pick up my bins every month. You fucking do one. You're not doing the service. But they're going to start taking
because they're the government now. If you do stop paying, then they can make you a criminal and put you in prison.
I think when it becomes mass, so when everyone's just like, I'm not paying this because I'll just get someone private to do it. It's just not.
Yeah, that's what we need to do. En masse, we need to just stop paying tax.
I think there's going to be, we want to put your council tax by 50% because we're in a black hole. Everyone's just like, well, all you've got to do is empty my bins, and then also we'll put a big pool over here to do road repairs with this company. And hey, we haven't got to pay these thousands of people to work to do God knows what. But America is, it's where we're going, because I think it was the Chicago, what was it, fire service or police service, where they couldn't pay the pensions, and it's going on and on and on. All these people have worked. Their whole agreement has been, I'm paying my pension every single year. I'm fine when I retire at 65. They're not now, and it's slowly going for America. And this is potentially the first one in the UK.
Yeah.
Well, just as we saw at the beginning of the year, we saw some small banks go under, didn't we? And then that would have been the domino, but they just threw money at it, just threw money to stop it. But that's all that bad debt and problem is still just sitting behind a dam. You know what it means is it builds up and it's still going to smash down.
Well, this is my point when we talked about the debt, when we're talking about interest payments. Who the fuck are they paying me interest payments? Because we know that the bank prints more money and the government gives bonds, but the bank's buying the bonds with its printed money. And that's where literally 90% of the printed money's going, is to pay for the bonds, which basically is a big circle. So it's like, your interest payments have gone up to who?
Yeah, no. So what we're seeing now is we're seeing small local governments go under, but guess what? This is all it's the domino effect. It's the big ones go under last just because they got the bigger slush funds, but the smaller ones feel the pinch first, and they try and bail them out. They'll try and cover it up, undoubtedly, and they'll obviously use the opportunity to raise taxes, lower public services. Then they'll never come back, by the way. Taxes will never come back down. Services will never improve again. And then it'll be a domino effect. And slowly but surely, you're right. The final domino to fall over in the government arena is the state pension and the rest of the pensions. That's going to be the biggie that, they can't hide behind it for forever. They're going to eventually have to take that. And that's going to be
It's going to be painful, but it's almost like it's a necessity. We're hitting this painful thing. It's like, we'll keep on printing. It's like, it's just going to get worse and worse. Like, you can, what you need to do is deflation. You need to pin yourself to a precious metal, whilst we would never get back to the same level as 1971. It would just be, gold's worth what, £2,000 or something now, rather than what it was originally in 71, which would have been a fraction of that. But they just need to put a standard in place, which means the government can't freely spend, but it stops them siphoning money out, which is what the whole government and big business is built on. Anyway, we're absolute tangent. Should we actually look at the agenda?
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're famous for, right?
Yeah.
So let's start off at the top in terms of our Forbes article, which is 11 billion for mining. So I'm just trying to get rid of all the ads. I'm only allowed.
I made a typo. It's 1.1 billion for mining.
Okay, 1.1 billion investment on Bitcoin mining infrastructure. So Oman's government have invested into mining. So
Bitcoin's what is it, halal?
no, it's is it Sharia law? It's okay that it's
it follows
approved.
sound principles, doesn't it? Which is why I can't remember what they call it exactly.
Islamic law.
Yeah, it's good because
law.
it's another nation state use case, and it's, you know, the famous one, El Salvador, Central African Republic, which seemed to fall over because they just switched off it. But then you've got things like this, and this is surely a step further. I know it's only 1.1 billion, which is literally fuck all to a country, but it's still, they're hedging their bets, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of money to spend on just mining. You know, they're not buying Bitcoin here, is it? They are putting in infrastructure. And I love the quote that comes at the beginning. You know, this initiative aligns with our goal to diversify our economy, integrating modern technologies while holding our commitment to ethical and sustainable practices. Oh, that's nice. So they're indirectly there saying Bitcoin is ethical and sustainable.
Well, didn't you read that KPMG report? It hits all the ESG criteria. Miss No Show was very pleased.
So it's nice just seeing. Obviously, it's only on Forbes. I think it's an opinion piece or whatever. But this is obviously someone that's actually understands Bitcoin, right? They're not doing it as a pump and dump and all that kind of stuff. I think they are diversifying their economy. It's sensible. Yeah, you want at least, and I think they're not just buying Bitcoin either. They're going, because that's just, you buy 1 billion today, great, okay, and they probably are. This is just, they're putting public that they're also investing in the infrastructure. So $1 billion spent in a load of mining initiatives, they'll get a significant amount of the hash power for that amount of investment. It's, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5% of hash power potentially could come from that. And then that just means that their nation then has a constant inflow of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
They're going to be getting their fair share of Bitcoin forever. Really.
You say isn't it also worrying that government's getting involved in Bitcoin?
Well, obviously we know Bitcoin's for everyone. So, and we can't stop it. This is the whole point. So we can't stop them doing it. But it seems to be, they're almost like grants, aren't they? So they're doing grants out to people to essentially, if you've got a mining business, they'll invest part of this 1.1 billion in you to help you get set up. But no, I think fundamentally, he's talking about his 2040 vision. And I think fair play to him. He's probably playing numerous different strategies. But I think one of his strategy is what he's seeing is the US dollar could fall by 2040. So do we have a Bitcoin strategy? And they're probably going, well, no. So, well, let's get one. Like we want, if this nation's going to be run sensibly, we need a good currency. And if Bitcoin is the standard at that point, we want to be well ahead. So let's just throw $1 billion at it today. Let's see how that goes. And if Bitcoin continues to do well, we're going to keep throwing billions at it. So I think this is fundamentally how a lot of governments are going to end up going, replace your Bank of England or the Federal Reserve. And instead you switch all that money out and you convert it into Bitcoin mining.
The Bitcoin standard has also been released into Arabic, as well as the white paper as well. There was a company, the Bitfury, translated the white paper back in 2019 into Arabic. So just perhaps, the leaders of Oman have read both and done their research in a timely manner and fashion, and then decided the sound principles of Bitcoin is the reason why they want to invest in the technology, and no doubt, as you said, also undoubtedly probably investing into Bitcoin too.
Yeah, I'd imagine if they're putting $1 billion into mining, I would hazard a guess they've probably got multiple billion already in Bitcoin as an asset. Because yeah, I guess it's more. I'd guess their holdings of Bitcoin are more than what they're putting into the mining part now. Because you don't start with mining, do you?
No, you don't.
Quite an advanced piece, right? You start with just going, fuck it, let's just grab a load and keep it inside our government, coffers, just in case. And I think they've just gone, look, we can't just buy it forever. The price is going to keep going up. We need infrastructure here that keeps us having a supply until 2140. So they've gone,
Yeah.
well, let's start building Bitcoin miners then. Let's start getting in on that game. So yeah, I think it's a super positive story. And yep, and of course, as we know, one of the biggest holders of Bitcoin is the US government. They don't buy it or mine it, they just confiscate it. So classic America, right? There's multiple ways about going about a thing. You could buy it, you could invest in it, you could work for it, you could just fucking steal it.
There you go.
It's the American way, the American dream, baby. Steal it. So who knows? And obviously they're not going to be open with their strategy. This is a small country, Oman or Oman. So they can be bullish. So who knows? Maybe they're going to be a potential another rival to El Salvador in a couple of years' time. Who knows? Let's just see how it progresses.
Yeah.
See how their language around Bitcoin. See what they say. Is it just a bit of a PR stunt? Who knows? We never know these things. Like you said, $1 billion is essentially nothing. So, but I like their language around Bitcoin at the moment. It sounds,
and it's also Forbes as well. They've not labeled them as right wings or extremists or something. And I'm kind of going, it seems a bit more mainstream acceptance. Perfectly in time for the halving.
Yeah, it says ethical and sustainable in relation to Bitcoin.
Well, like I said, did you not read that KPMG paper?
I know. Maybe that's changed the tide. Who knows? Maybe.
But it does make me quite suspicious all this is going on.
Yeah. Well, I know the conspiracy theory at the moment is it's to try and get everyone to invest in the BlackRock ETF. And then they're going to just steal it that way.
I'll stick my Bitcoin, then I'll start demanding it.
Yeah, they'll suddenly change the marketing on Bitcoin to go, oh, we said it was bad for the environment and it's not, it's fine now. BlackRock have cleaned it up. Send us your money.
But then how do they get the holders of Bitcoin to give up their Bitcoin?
Well, the holders of Bitcoin, it doesn't matter. Everyone that buys the Bitcoin ETF, they never get to their Bitcoin, do they? They get paper Bitcoin.
I suppose they can be the serfs, aren't they?
So they essentially what you've done there, because as we know, BlackRock essentially it's the company that sits above government. Like they literally are the most powerful government in the world. If you add up that they control 10% of every company in the globe, they run governments. So yeah, every bit of Bitcoin that gets brought off there, if at any point they can just change the rules, they can make up a law and all that Bitcoin gets confiscated. So that could be it's almost like a Trojan horse. They're pretending that we get Bitcoin, it's good, give us your money, and in reality they're going to steal it from everyone that gives them any money. So that could be what's behind it, that BlackRock have suddenly turned the dial and gone, be positive on Bitcoin, we're about to launch a product, get the money in here, and then we'll turn it bad again later, and that'll be our excuse to confiscate everything.
Yeah. Or keep it safe from you, because we know best.
Well, Bitcoin's causing climate change. It's the reason why these local councils are collapsing. It's because of Bitcoin. It's why can't we stop this war happening? China's going to invade Taiwan. We can't stop them because of Bitcoin. You just put the word Bitcoin at the end of every problem. There's loads of immigrants in your country. There's a Bitcoin. They've all come over here with Bitcoin, and now they're richer than us. Fuck these immigrants, and it's like because of Bitcoin. You just go, it's so easy, isn't it? I can already see the headlines, and it's just obviously it's fully expected. This is a war. This is a war of money, and we're on one side, they're on the other. So of course, I expect them to fight back, and they're not going to fight fair. They're going to lie, and they're going to
It was
slander.
like once upon a time, if you put the letter I in front of things based on like the iPhone, it used to all of a sudden just be like, oh yeah, it must be great, it must be sexy, it must be cool.
There's also when everyone put E before everything, so it was electronic.
Yeah.
Yeah, the email. Yeah. Anyway, should we get on to the big meaty topic of this week?
Yeah. So Drivechain, or what is it, BIP 300. So this is one which I put forward for the agenda. So I've seen a lot of it across my feed on Twitter. So I had a read of this and I passed it on to the group because I wanted to better understand it. I was hoping Mr. Orling could help me understand, because I've read it and I'm kind of going, do they just want a layer to attach shit coins on? Make it easier to buy shit coins through Bitcoin, basically, so the shit coins can go, oh yeah, we're attached to the Bitcoin network, therefore we've got more not clout, but we're trying to think of the correct word, like they're more serious.
Credibility.
Credibility, yeah, sorry, as I'm absolute blank then. And that's what I was kind of going, is that all this is? People want to shitcoin on the Bitcoin network.
Well, we've talked about it, haven't we? And again, just before we went on air, when we talk, we specifically talk in Bitcoin, whereas if most people will use the terminology crypto, and like we know that the two are not alike. So therefore, if you try to, join the credible group, that way you might pass off as credible. It's like when you were younger and you were trying to get into the club, and if your mates were older, you'd be like, oh, yeah, it must be okay. Oh, we won't ask you for ID. I used to have that all the time. Whereas, yeah, so it's that, well, yeah, we'll give it the benefit of the doubt, but it is what it is, isn't it? And obviously, we know in this sector, nothing gets passed without any scrutiny.
Well, there's people who are, well, a lot clever, understand the ins and outs of everything, and they've just gone, don't want this.
Yeah.
All these people trying to hawk the side chains are saying, oh yeah, the miners want this. The miners just, when you see a miner message, I don't want this. Fuck this. So some quotes which I've taken from this to help understand and help the listeners is Drivechains define a specific way through which to create Bitcoin sidechains. Sidechains are parallel blockchains to Bitcoin that enable Bitcoin to flow between two networks in a two-way peg. So basically, you can buy shit coins with Bitcoin, and I think it gives more credibility. Today, cryptocurrencies like Ethereum, Monero, Sia provide capabilities that Bitcoiners cannot access unless they sell their Bitcoin in order to utilize a competing monetary unit. So basically, this could enable us to have stick dicks on Bitcoin network.
Basically, I honestly, I don't even know what problem they're trying to solve here, other than, like you said, just get the credibility that, oh no, we're tied to Bitcoin. Because at the moment, like they say, you have to sell your Bitcoin to get these shit coins. Well, no, you don't. There's plenty of pegs that you don't have to sell your Bitcoin to fiat and then go fiat to shitcoin. That's literally what the exchanges were set up to solve. So I know behind the scenes that is what happens, but they've already simplified it for the user, and you can switch Bitcoin straight to stick dicks or any
plus
when you want.
People who actually hold a decent amount of Bitcoin, they're not going to buy your fucking Ethereum or your shit. They're going to look at it and go, why do I want this shitcoin? I don't want to go down to the shitcoin casino. I'm going to hold my Bitcoin and wait for Bitcoinization. And it kind of, one of the final quotes is, Bitcoin software changes rely on developer consensus. Bitcoin community will reject a good proposal even if it's marginally unpopular, slowing progress. And it's just like, you're trying to tell everyone that they're behind the times. Like, they're not trying to create the all-encompassing internet of everything. That's Ethereum. And they've missed because I don't even understand what they're doing. Bitcoin is aiming to replace money, not become the internet of everything.
Yeah, and I don't even know how this would work in practicality. So let's just use Ethereum as the example. So Ethereum obviously has its complete different weird blockchain over somewhere, and people have all their ETH over there. What ETH do they have on Drivechain? Does it match 1-to-1? Is it a different form of ETH?
I think it just points at it. It's almost
Yeah.
like the or what are those stupid fucking pictures which they put on Bitcoin through links on the blocks.
What
You know, ordinals, yeah. So I think it's almost like a bit like ordinals where it would go, this Bitcoin is now in that kind of like side bit. So it's paused, it can't be used because that's bought this Ethereum over there. And until that asset is released on it, it's bought that Ethereum. So it literally has no use because you kind of go, well, Ethereum, what are you going to do with it? Like, are you going to buy an NFT? Monero, oh, you want it has its use, which, well, it did have its use, which was secrecy until I think the founder got taken down. I don't know if it really works anymore. But with that, you're going through KYC anyway, so that Bitcoin will be tracked. You buy with Monero, you're going to be tracked along it, so it hasn't got a use case there.
Yeah.
But it just seems like it's a bunch of grifters want to shitcoin on the Bitcoin network.
Yeah, it looks like a complete non-starter. I like the only point that got me that was like, okay, that's quite clever, is as the block reward goes down and down and down, there is the argument that it isn't profitable to mine Bitcoin anymore. So potentially the hash power could go down, which could reduce the security on Bitcoin. Now, I don't tend to agree to that. I think the fees that are going to be inside the blocks, even though the block reward itself keeps getting halved every 4 years, if you fast forward a couple of decades, I still think it's going to be more than profitable to mine Bitcoin. And
but if you think those Bitcoins sitting on the blockchain are going to be used for buying houses, they're going to be used for business deals, they're going to be the gigantic sums. So literally kind of go, in order to move that, you've got to pay this because it's moving your gold between the vaults. So you're paying that, the equivalent of like 500 grand for a house in Bitcoin. Bump, we're going to charge you 300 quid, and there'll be a load of those around the world. But then you kind of got your Visa level there, which is Lightning, and that'll be passing that round. So it's just, I think it's a bit of a, when people say, "Oh, we'll be able to sustain it," I think it's a bit of a pointless.
Well, the people that will have been miners will no doubt continue to have their own Bitcoin and won't want to give that up for anything. So I think they'll be even more incentivized to want to protect the network.
But it's still going to be that charge. And like I said, I think because you're going to be moving the business sums, the big purchases, car purchases, so you're not going to put a car purchase on the Lightning network, are you?
No.
But like,
so
the only thing I mentioned it for basically is if you assume that could be a problem, and the game theory that is involved in figuring out whether the fees will be enough or not in 30 years' time is nearly impossible to play out. There's so many moving parts. So if you just go on the scenario of, is it impossible for a problem to exist in 30, 40 years' time? The answer is undoubtedly yes. It's just, what percent chance do you think that's going to happen? Is it 0.1% chance, or is it 50? So what they've done here is gone, well, we can help you, because the miners that are mining Bitcoin, if there's a load of shitcoins happening on here as well, it's the same tech, so they can mine the shitcoin and make money that way. And so they're still securing the Bitcoin network. I thought that bit was quite clever. I went, okay, that's actually a pro that I like. Out of everything you've said so far, being able to switch from Bitcoin to shitcoin, like, who gives a fuck? There's new innovation possible on the Bitcoin network via these side chains. Don't give a fuck. It's just money. I don't want it to be innovative. Satoshi did all the work. Leave it alone. But then at the end, the third one is, but we can secure the network. The miners will have more money because there's more action on the on the blockchain that they can then mine and go, okay, I want that one.
Mm.
That's a nice one. But then I suddenly go, right, would I sacrifice the first two for the third one? Nope. Fuck
Yeah.
no. I do not want a change this large happening on Bitcoin. It's just absolutely a no-go. We've talked about these types of changes before on Bitcoin, and even the smallest change can affect the scarcity, the security, just the soundness of the money, right? We always talk about, sound money, and there's only a few factors that matter around Bitcoin. And if you're making a change and you affect the scarcity, the security, um, anything of the core kind of credentials of Bitcoin, then it's over. The entire experiment of Bitcoin is fucking over, and we're going to be left with fiat or scrabbling around for bits of gold. So if we're going to change this network, we better be 100% sure that this change is so needed that it's worth risking all that. And look at this. It looks like a massive change for a potential benefit that might help us in 30 years' time, where most people don't think there's even a problem anyway. So it's a freaking cast iron no from me. I'm out.
It goes back to what we always talk about, isn't it? With first principles, and as you said, what are we trying to solve? And if the answer immediately is, well, nothing, or we can't actually articulate it correctly and appropriately, then we should just stop.
Yeah. And there's some posts around this. So there's at Hodl who's got a conversation where you got someone claiming that miners are talking about drive chains, and his response is, who is it? Pierre Richard. It's not someone who I actually know. Is that?
He's a massive Bitcoiner. Yeah, he used to be the head of Bitcoin at Kraken.
Okay, maybe someone I should follow then. He said no, it's fabricated opium, and he keeps on going to say no, it isn't. It's entirely fabricated. You just kind of look at the likes in between the two posts, and you can see that people aren't interested in it. No one wants this. And I bet the miners will say piss off, which is why we've got this article basically saying, oh, you Bitcoiners, communities, you're slowing progress. And it's just like, what progress is this going to give us? It's not sound money, is it?
And the good thing is about this conversation, Pierre Richard works for Riot blockchain, Riot blockchain, which is one of the biggest Bitcoin miners. So when this David Bailey guy comes back to Pierre and goes, it's not fabricated just because you disagree. Isn't Riot interested in new transaction fees? He goes, it's entirely fabricated and you're free to donate to Riot by overpaying your transaction fees. He's just like, Lamal, okay, believe what you want. He went, okay, spook. So there's someone that is financially motivated by that third point I mentioned, which is the more transaction fees. Pierre works for a company that will benefit from this, and they're going, we're not interested. It might be profitable in the short term, but it compromises the whole reason we're here, which is
is it going to end up with another situation like Ordinals where it's flooding the network?
Yeah, and it probably will. Yeah, although they say it's on different blockchains, so it just gives miners more money. The Bitcoin network doesn't get clogged up. There's a load of different blockchains over here, but it's the fact that they're intrinsically linked is where the risk is. They're already got their own blockchain and they're not intrinsically linked. Leave them over there. They've already got their blockchains.
Yeah, we'll wait for them to fucking die somewhere else. Don't want to attach to anywhere near the Bitcoin network.
And in reality, actually thinking about it, I know there are Bitcoin miners that do point their miners to shitcoin sometimes because they just can. They have to recode it and to mine the different blockchain, but they do. They sometimes because they're there for profit, and if Bitcoin is in a slump at the moment and they need to switch 20% of their miners to mine some shitcoin because it's more profitable at the moment, they just do it. They take those gains, they convert it to Bitcoin, and then they buy more miners, and then once Bitcoin recovers, they switch it all back to Bitcoin again. It's so actually, the more I think about it, even that third thing around Bitcoin being in 30 years' time, is the mining good enough? Well, if shitcoins are around in 30 years, which I highly doubt, those miners can't just switch and mine some shitcoin if they want to fucking pay the bills, but chances are they're not going to exist, whether they're on Drivechain or whatever fucking blockchain they're on anyway, because surely people have wisened up by that point.
Yeah, fair. And the final one is from everyone's favorite economist.
That's a bit of a revelation to me as I've just sat here thinking miners do that.
Oh.
You know, like miners who are hardcore Bitcoin maxis will actually shitcoin in a way, but naturally shitcoin just to continue being maxi Bitcoiners.
Yeah. Well, sometimes like the scenario they'll do that on is when the difficulty adjustment is very high.
Yeah.
And the price of Bitcoin has just taken a dump. So it'll take a couple of weeks for the difficulty adjustment to realign. And then suddenly now the difficulty to mine Bitcoin becomes better. So during those 2 weeks, instead of switching them off and going, we're mining Bitcoin at a loss, potentially, it's you just switch it. Because obviously switching these machines off for 2 weeks means you just lose 2 weeks of their lifespan, because these miners do just, they become obsolete after 5 or 6 years. So you just, there's plenty of blockchains that are very similar to Bitcoin. You just point at them instead. Yeah. I don't think like someone like Pierre, he wouldn't be doing that. He's a proper Bitcoin maxi, and contributing to the hash power of another shitcoin would probably be a step too far for him. But having said that, I'm pretty sure Riot Blockchain, that I think I did read their financial report one year, and I was thinking about investing in their company, but I just sacked it off and just bought Bitcoin instead. But they do hold shitcoin. I mean, they're about 80% Bitcoin and 20% shitcoin. So they're not complete Bitcoin maxis at Riot. But I know Pierre Rochard is a proper toxic maxi. So I like Pierre.
Fair enough. Someone to follow for all the listeners and for myself.
Yeah.
And the last one is a tweet from everyone's favorite Austrian economist, Seyfedin. So to summarize his big long tweets, it is a big ass tweet, is why are you going to try and change something which works, which is fundamentally what we talk about. You're risking breaking the whole thing because you want to grift on it and shitcoin. There's just no need.
Well, I'll go a little bit further, as he says, he sat on a lifeboat with his family, and his family and him are obviously saying, please don't change it whilst we're on this life raft right now, which is, I think, more powerful. Because if you think about that, ultimately you're already at sea. Things, in his mind, the war is going on right now, isn't it? In terms
There's going to be a lot more life rafts needed as well.
Yeah.
If you think that just Lebanon are the only country who are going into hyperinflation and ruining the currency and everyone's wealth within that country, you're sadly mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think Seyfedin's post, it just, as always, it's so eloquent and just says everything that I'm thinking in my own head anyway. Because he's an example of someone that did need the life raft. He lived in Lebanon, who obviously they've gone through hyperinflation. Everyone that didn't have Bitcoin lost everything. And I love the line that he just ends that first sentence with, which is, if Bitcoin never adds a single capability, it will still be the most important technology innovation of my lifetime. And that's it, right? It's Satoshi invented sound money. We don't need all these functionalities and shit that NFTs and shitcoins claim to say is an additional thing to Bitcoin. Like, we just need money. We just need sound money. Everything else can get built just on the internet somewhere else. All these like freaking, we want trading cards, we want to be able to log in, we want to have identity on the freaking blockchain, whatever. Yeah. Build it somewhere else and great. Knock yourself out. Maybe some of these things take off maybe the metaverse does something great, but you don't need to tie it to the money. Money should be separate. We don't want a bug on the metaverse breaking Bitcoin. It just doesn't make any sense. You keep these things with a big brick wall between them, and Bitcoin's over here, the metaverse is over there, or shitcoins are over here, and innovate and freaking throw shit at the wall all you want. And if you break anything, all you do is break your little shitcoin or the metaverse over here. Bitcoin should be locked in a freaking steel chamber. And
what was it? Taproot opened the door to
yeah.
ordinals.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. And we talked about that. And I remember going, there was a risk. Everyone didn't think the risk was big enough. And what happened? Some freaking shitcoiner goes and figures out they can put NFTs on Bitcoin now because of Taproot. And they did it. And they freaking clogged the network up for a year. Yeah. So we didn't break Bitcoin, but we didn't improve it. We freaking, well, Taproot improved it in some places, but then broke it quite substantially in another. And that was a tiny change that took about 3 years to get approved. This is such a huge change. This is an almost undoubtedly, again, we talked about Trojan horses before with the BlackRock ETF. This is another Trojan horse. This is either from the government or from shitcoiners that want to break Bitcoin. So there's not I don't think they're going to get it through, right? I mean,
if it gets approved, it could be a sell signal.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah. This is the type of thing that would get me shit scared if this was submitted and BIP 300 was to be put live. Yeah, this would be devastating to Bitcoin. Yeah, I agree. So we need to fight it.
Yeah. I guess it's one of those things that we will naturally each and every week continue to understand the sentiment around it and if it's starting to make any traction. Because if we look back in history, the reason why most things fail is through human greed.
Yeah.
And so if the greed of this change to our shitcoins, to the network, starts to build more and more momentum, then perhaps it's one of those signs.
Yeah. And the thing is, it would be anyone that gets Bitcoin it's so short-sighted, right?
Yeah.
Yet maybe you could introduce this, and for the next 5 years, if you run a Bitcoin mining company, you can make bank. But then what have you done? Like the risk is you potentially break Bitcoin. So if you hold any Bitcoin that's now worthless, your additional gains are, if you didn't convert it out into fiat, are now worthless as well. Because obviously your shitcoin, they're going to zero anyway, but the Bitcoin stuff was not supposed to, but you were part of breaking it. So now you're back into fiat, and virtually no matter where in the world you are, you're going to hit hyperinflation. So any short-term gains you get in the next 5 years are going to get eroded anyway, unless you're connected to the money printer up in elite land. It's got to almost be. That's why I think Pierre said, "All right, okay, spook," because it's almost like you've got to be like some kind of FBI, CIA agent to believe what you're saying here. This is almost like a Trojan horse kind of plan coming from the government or CIA here to try and break Bitcoin from the inside. But as always, that's why again I talk about Bitcoin toxic maxis all the time. It's why you got to be toxic. We've got to just be loud and proud about this all over Twitter, going, "This is a load of bollocks. We are not going to do it. No, this is complete." But and everything I've seen is that there's just a couple of people that seem to be really, and Safedine even mentioned it actually. He says it's very strange. There seems to be a very concerted marketing effort behind Drivechain. There's a number of people that seem to be on the payroll of someone, and they're just going around trying to drag him into debates, inviting him to podcasts to talk and debate Drivechain. And at the moment, he's just rejected all of them. But someone is funding this. So I mean, there's two potentials. It's some kind of shitcoiner who just wants to fuck Bitcoin up, or it is the CIA. Either way, don't really care. They're trying to break Bitcoin. So this is where the toxic hive mind come together, and we just tell them to fuck off. Ain't putting this into our code. You're not going to win us over with trying to tell us this is fine and going to improve Bitcoin. We know we don't need to improve Bitcoin. Go fuck yourself. Do it somewhere else. We know what you're up to.
It goes back to once you understand something, and Safe's a great person to kind of use as the example. So Saifedean has fled persecution in the country of Lebanon and inflation in Lebanon. So he's like, nothing can buy me to take me back to that. So therefore you can throw all the money that you want at me, but I'm out. And I think that's a key one for us to start looking at. Cool. Let's move on. Story. Well, we've covered 3 of the Drivechain stories. I'm sure again it's probably one that we'll continue to look at.
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully it pisses off.
Well, yeah. Well, look at in the sense of it doesn't come back up and it's gone. But the next is from Forbes saying it's time to start dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin.
Now, so two Forbes articles this week. That's unheard of.
I know. I've used 2 of my 4 credits with Forbes as well.
I do read this and I'm just a bit. I wrote over the weekend that Bitcoin was about to reprice because the technical showed a volatility compression that very frequently precedes a repricing. And I was just like, I'm a bit like, they're going, there's a compression. This is about currency, it's about money, it's about the innovation. So why would someone look at Bitcoin in that lens, whereas they should be looking at El Salvador, what's happened in El Salvador? Oh, Bitcoin's gone down, they've lost their reserves. Well, actually, what happens is they've ended up with lots more tourism. They've gone to a low time preference, so they've started doing all the hard things, which every country should do. So it's kind of like, zoom out 5 to 10 years. And then also you go, well, Robert Kennedy, he's talking about Bitcoin on the presidential trail. Ron DeSantis is talking about it on the presidential trail. You've got the Argentinian, the main one who seems to be number 1 for their presidential election, talking about Bitcoin. So these are the kind of things why you should look at, not a fucking compression. I just feel like this is just a pile of bullshit, this article.
Yeah. Well, I thought the same, yeah. It's interesting to see. I like the headline. It's time to start DCAing into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But yeah, it starts using charts and going, oh yeah, maybe it's going to pump a little bit, so maybe it's to start DCAing. But it seems to be to maximize your fiat gains. So essentially trading. It's not time to be long or short on Bitcoin, just DCA and maybe something good will happen over the next couple of years. But it's better than that normally, like we've read a super good Forbes article 1 year before, that was about that mining operation in Oman. But then this one is more down what I would expect, which is kind of positive Bitcoin, but you're selling it for fiat though, right? So it's not really positive Bitcoin. It's the classic retail, what they want you to think Bitcoin is used for, which is just
Correct.
Buying it with an aim to sell at a higher price, which obviously isn't what we're here for.
Yeah, we're here for the revolution.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Anything else which you want to add on this one? I suppose it's just it's getting to the mainstream, isn't it? Like this is a big mainstream. This is, like I said, maybe it's the BlackRock ETF. They're paying all these publications to put all the news out there. Well, you better DCA into it. It's hard though. Why not use our ETF?
The thing with Forbes is it's full of adverts. And so that's why they want people there, isn't it? It's, you know, it's eyeballs, it's the attention.
Oh, yeah.
And therefore it makes me think that naturally you can't believe that everything that you read on there is credible, because they are a marketing machine, and they, you know, essentially, yes, the Forbes name has credibility, but I don't necessarily believe that all of the research and the articles on here has full
Okay, but
credibility.
let's put that into a different perspective. Go back a year to two. Would they have an article like that?
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah, so I think whilst you're talking about credibility, it's still that kind of like change in mindset, and something's caused that. Most probably BlackRock, because BlackRock probably owns 10% of Forbes.
Well, of course, but I mean, even on their website, you know, where it's got Forbes digital assets, and is following crypto prices and research. You know, it's got a whole subsection with things that are, dare I say, crypto related as opposed to Bitcoin related.
I'm waiting for an article like this to appear in the Times, because then you really know that they are pushing it, because the Times would never write something like that.
Mm.
And like you write about those adverts, so I got one for Timo. It looks like some kind of like wish kind of thing. So I can get a sign saying no trespassing dog on premises. Another sign which says please do not feed the whores drugs. And then I've got one for QuickBooks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's well, I think it became a meme, didn't it? You know, the Forbes 30 under 30 list. Like nearly every year, that entire list is like a list of scammers, because
Oh yeah.
to get on that list, you need to be a bit of a grifter. You have to pay someone at Forbes to get on it. They're corrupt. So it almost tends to be the people are on it are just con men and women. So it's so that their most prestigious thing, which it used to be prestigious to be in the Forbes 30 under 30.
It's so four really notable ones. One was that woman, something about technology of pill or something like that.
It's Theranos, there's SBF. But literally, even when I was traveling in Puerto Rico, there's this lad that came up to me and he got introduced as whatever his name was, I can't remember, but he is a Forbes 30 under 30. I was like, all right. Started chatting to him. Proper shitcoin scammer. And it's just, this guy's done nothing. He's not even that intelligent. He's just got a good personality. He's a grifter, but he's never done anything in his life other than scam. And he pretty much told me as much. He's like, do you want to be in on it? I went, no, piss off. And and that's my only like direct like meeting of anyone ever on a Forbes 30 under 30 list. He was a shitcoin scammer I met in Puerto Rico. So yeah, I think the Forbes brand has been well and truly diluted the last 20 years.
Sorry, my iCloud has signed me out, so I'm having to re-log in.
Oh,
Anyway, that must be happening tonight. It was Senevel just before we kicked off, wasn't it?
yeah.
But I expect to be signed out in a minute then.
We've got an interesting one for the next one. So it's everyone's favorite shady organization, the WEF, with good old Klaus. So there's a nice little bit. Actually, you need to do your click, don't you?
Yeah, I was going to say.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
So they want to introduce carbon footprint tracker. So this is the plans to bring it in. And it just, you kind of go, okay, you've got a tracker. That's stage one. You bring in the tracker. Everyone tracks their carbon footprint. What's stage two?
It becomes mandatory.
Yeah. What would be the stage after that then?
Or is that restricting?
Yeah, it's restriction. It's like you can't go outside your town apart from 3 times a year, even if your grandma is dying.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, it's not even going to be, oh, we'll fine you if you do. It'll be like, no, your car won't start.
You can't buy food for 2 weeks. You either go and see your dying grandma, and let your family starve because we don't use carbon. So it's basically, once you've got a restriction, it's no hope. So it's like, there's a company which I keep on seeing on LinkedIn, won't mention any names, but they're doing carbon tracking for a credit card. And it's just like, why would anyone voluntarily do this? So, something which I read, which was really, really good point, is carbon dioxide makes up 0.04% of the atmosphere. And out of that, humans are responsible for a fraction of it. Why the fuck are we doing this? And why are we actually paying any attention to it?
Oh no. The war on carbon dioxide is bizarre. It's literally the food for plants. If we reduce that to zero, or even substantially reduced it, the plants wouldn't have anything to
But it's
eat.
also,
And
we're in a
wouldn't
slight
produce
tropical,
oxygen.
we're in a slight heating part of the cycle, which means more plant life flourishes. So therefore we produce more crops, we have more trees, the animals thrive, and it's basically this great bit before we hit an ice age. So we've come out of the ice age and we're warming up. We've got everything on Earth is flourishing, but somehow we're kind of going, if you pay more tax and you pay carbon credits, we will save the ice caps. But more ice has formed in the last 5 years. Shh.
No, look at this TikTok that I took during summer. They are melting.
And it's just, it's just ridiculous. But what I didn't think anything could top this till I read something this week, which is about burying trees. They want to bury trees because they shed carbon as they die, and after they stop growing, and instead they're going to build carbon dioxide handling plants.
How much fucking carbon dioxide that going to take?
But But think about it. So trees grow everywhere. They aren't controlled by government, so they are decentralized, aren't they?
Yeah.
You have a carbon dioxide handling plant. It's centralized. Who do you pay more taxes to?
Yeah. Well, they're going to.
It's literally pure centralization, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and yeah, it's just more reliance on government. It's like, oh, every time a tree falls over, quickly phone the government, get them to pick it up. It might destroy the planet.
Or it's just like
a decaying tree literally is part of life. Like the ground needs that tree.
We need to bury this tree. We need to put Gatorade on it. And everyone's just like, yes, we must do that. Pray to the gods of climate change.
Terry Crews. But that whole video though, it really is. It's another one of those ones where we did 2 weeks ago, where these old people are saying stuff out loud that I'm not sure they should be saying. You can tell he's talking to an audience that is full of elitist people that all think they're above. All these kind of controls. Whenever they talk about them, they talk about us plebs. They know they're not going to be controlled. Obviously, their travel and their private jets and their work is way too important.
They'll pay a carbon offset fee. Yeah. And when they've been questioned about this, they're just like, well, I'm paying for it.
Yeah, I'll pay for 1,000 trees to be planted every other day. Okay. So yeah, there's always a way out for the elite and the rich. So when they're saying this stuff, he says it so deadpan. There's no softness in it. You can clearly see he doesn't think he's talking to us. He's talking to other people like him that are going to be above these rules, either the fact that they're in political hierarchy or financial hierarchy above the plebs.
It's funny you say that. I thought exactly the same listening, because I was reading through the comments, and it was on loop, because it's only 25 seconds. And each and every time it's just kind of monotone, like, I'm talking to you, but I'm not referring to me.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just going, the consumer is going to be very tightly controlled. And their travel, these carbon credits, yeah. And this is obviously, I knew this whole climate crisis thing was going to be engineered and used to obviously control and profit, because that's what they do every time. But holy shit, they really do have a long tail strategy on this one, because tying it all into these carbon credits, it fits perfectly in with CBDCs. This whole plan really, like all these WEF kind of things of, oh, we're going to switch to socialism, and it was always, Jesus, like how are they going to get us in there? They're going to convince people to do this. And then slowly but surely, they start to reveal cards in their hand. And they go, oh, CBDCs are one of them. I'm like, holy shit. Yeah, okay. Didn't see that one coming. And then they go, carbon credits. You're like, oh, that's a good one. Like, well played. These are good cards. Like, these are believable. Like, for the most people, they believe this.
But you kind of go, why does everything link back to like communism, basically? But then you've got all these people who are sitting there clapping like seals. Like, I've seen all these comments on Twitter and even LinkedIn about what a good idea it is to bury trees now. That's only been out for a week. And I'm just like, are you fucking stupid?
How does the planet survive for 65 million years until our government came along and started burying trees?
Sounds like we need to bury more trees.
Oh my God, mate. All right. Let's move on to a bit of a like lighter topic. Let's like laugh at some crypto more. So I can introduce this one if you want.
Yeah,
So basically there's some random influencer, no idea who he is, just stumbled across this on Reddit, but he's a Portuguese guy, Ivan Bianco. And he was streaming and trying to switch around his crypto, because obviously he is a crypto guy, of course he is. And by accident, for some absolutely bizarre reason, his seed phrase was listed in a text document, and he thought he was sharing one screen. He accidentally opened up that document on the stream screen. So he quickly realized what he'd done. He just shared his seed phrase to his stream. Who knows how many people that is? Hundreds, maybe thousands of people. So he quickly closed the stream down, tried to move his funds out of that wallet that had now just been compromised, to find out they'd already been moved. One of his trusty fans had already stolen all his crypto, which amounts to about $50,000. And he was crying about it, asked to have the money back. Apparently the scammer, or maybe is he a scammer? He probably isn't really, just the opportunist.
Yeah, I was thinking opportunist.
Yeah, apparently sent him a little bit back, but kept most of it. And why not? If you're going to be stupid enough to stream and ever open anything related to your private keys, like, number one, like, oh, what the fuck? Like, I have everything closed. I close down Word. I close down freaking Outlook. I close everything down every time I'm dealing with any hardware wallet. This fucker was streaming, and he's obviously got some kind of weird wallet as well. It's classic crypto guy. He's got it probably in his browser behind, so it's already freaking compromised, right? It's literally in the browser. It's in a document. It's online. It's got his seed phrase or backup words, whichever one it was, in a document that's online in some shape or form. So really, it was a matter of time to have got compromised anyway.
Yeah.
But he actually showed it to the world as well, live on stream. So he got what he deserved. He lost all his money, and he's crying about it now. And I don't have much sympathy. What do you guys think?
Well, he's just a crypto moron from a shitcoin casino doing DeFi. So I'm just like, I read that part and I was just like, DeFi and crypto. I was just like, fucking hell. Don't need to read anymore, do I?
No, of course he's going to make a dumbass mistake, because he'd already made 17,000 mistakes to get as far as he had anyway.
ultimately doing it live on screen of this is what you should do was the biggest show to show everybody what you shouldn't do inadvertently. And yeah, I feel for you because clearly you've been stacking sats, but play stupid games.
Stacking Doge.
Yeah. Play
Stacking.
stupid games, win stupid prizes, and that's what he's done.
Yeah. Sweet. We've already mentioned LinkedIn today, and then the next story is literally I was scrolling down. I don't often go on this platform anymore, but
It's
then
hilarious when you do.
yeah, maybe I'll come back for a couple of weeks and see what trouble I can get into. But yeah, I actually stumbled across LinkedIn content, which when I first just scrolled through it very quickly, I was like, oh, same old bollocks. But then I was like, hold on, no, this girl Laura Norrie, she has got her
Yeah.
pronouns listed, so maybe take her with a pinch of salt. But she actually kind of debunks a load of kind of common FUD items about Bitcoin, whether it be bad for the environment, can be controlled. Something the innovation is the blockchain, volatility, and Bitcoin is old and altcoins are the future. She basically debunks all five of those things, and you get and relatively well, to be fair to her. She not quite, obviously she says the word altcoin, that is still a swear word in my mind. It is shitcoin. Say them for what they are. They're not an alternative coin. It is a shit coin. But she seems to actually kind of get it, and I was like, oh, okay, fair play. I almost don't expect. I follow a couple of Bitcoiners on LinkedIn, so they obviously just post pure gold, but it's very similar content to what I get on Twitter. But this was a random post that got sent to me that had been obviously hashtagged Bitcoin, which I tend to get in my feed, and nearly every time it's nonsense, just complete garbage. Even if they're trying to be positive towards Bitcoin, they're still wrong. But this Laura girl seems to actually have kind of got hold of a couple of things and went, oh, I thought I'd just share it to go, wow, LinkedIn actually was useful for like 30 seconds of my day today. It wasted hours before, but this 30 seconds was all right.
I've got a bit of admission here. I like reading the comments under things like this because you always get some arguments. So first one's Christopher Parker, SEO web expert, and she said about blockchain, and it set him off. So it says, what is it? Blockchain's basically a load of marketing bullshit, a trap for people to take your money. And then this SEO guy, this is a real problem with Web3. People are criticizing what they don't understand. Blockchain technologies offer so many incredible opportunities. They're being squandered by people who jump first and ask questions later. And it's just like, it's a database, mate.
what I like about when you find people like this, and I would like for anybody that comes to our channel, or also maybe ever tries to question our credibility, is her posts. And I was going through them and looking at the posts that she's put out, the images that she's put, and looking at the timeline and the time frame. Is this someone that's just all of a sudden just come online, just try to get the likes? But no, she's actually been doing it for a while now, and the sentiment is real in terms of it. So yeah, she's got a like from me and a follow as well. As you said, the content is good, and it'd be interesting to continue following her and also see if she can actually make some traction on what is typically a forum that most people would continue to say, I would say, is dismissive of Bitcoin, but equally people are afraid to come out and say, oh yeah, I like that, because everybody wants to be seen as in the good camp, and no one wants to ever be seen as right wing. because that's what Bitcoin is, and goes back to our, best podcast to date so far of 109, and obviously seen as racist.
Yeah, actually, I hadn't read the comments, and actually, I like this girl even more now because that comment you just read out that says like basically people are criticizing Web3 without knowing what it is, and this is a massive opportunity being squandered. She replies going, I worked in the blockchain industry for 2 years before realizing it's just noise. The real signal is Bitcoin. If you don't see it, you're either inexperienced or in bad faith. Boom. That's a fucking mic drop.
Yeah.
This girl's toxic.
He still comes back and it's just like, shut up.
Oh, yeah. But that's a toxic reply. That's like, she ain't for moving now, is she? She's gone into that world realizing it's a load of bollocks. The only thing real in this is Bitcoin. And if you don't get it, it's just because you haven't looked into it enough, or you have, and you're scamming. So that's like for LinkedIn, like someone writing those type of comments, the only people I see writing comments like that are me.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Exactly that.
So the fact that she's writing comments that almost I could have written, I'm like, okay, you go, girl. Like,
you need to calm down. You're only recently married.
It can be two Bitcoin, bro. No, they can't.
What I was thinking as well is perhaps there's been some experience that she's felt being in Italy as well. Some of her posts are in Italian. I've not translated or anything, but there's got to be something perhaps that, whilst she worked in the industry for 2 years, there's got to be something, some trigger that has made her this toxic.
Yeah, well, I imagine it's because she's probably seen it from the inside, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
where she's seen these Web3 kind of companies take a load of money in, build nothing. The founders probably just left the business, super rich, bought some nice houses, some nice cars, and didn't really follow anything through. Yeah, on the outside, it was a load of excuses and bollocks as to why nothing got delivered. But she saw it from inside, and she saw all the money essentially probably being squandered and just spent on bollocks, and they didn't even try and build the thing that they said they were going to build. So I think maybe that's because the thing is, like, Jesus, we've all done it, right? We've all looked at this stuff and gone, oh, maybe there's something here. And obviously I was a Bitcoiner when I went to Puerto Rico, but when I then saw the shitcoiners from up close and got invited into some projects or invited to invest in some projects, it was just, oh wow, this is where like the white papers get written and the scams get founded. And I don't want no part of this. These guys are scum. These aren't the guys I met at Bitcoin meetups. These guys are genuine. These are the guys that I could have a beer with. We could talk for hours just about life, and we would almost agree on every point because our foundational kind of values were aligned. When I met these guys in Puerto Rico, I'm like, I fucking hate this guy. He's trying to like impress me. He's trying to like show me how much stuff he's got, how much money I could make if I go with him. And he's just, and I just have this repulsion. Like, I have nothing in common with you. Like you would sell your own gran to make a buck. I have morals and ethics. I want to make money, but I want to make it the right way. And I mean, that's just the Bitcoin way. And whereas the scammers and shitcoiners they'll do it. We know we're adding nothing to the world, but we might get rich, right? So it's worth trying. And for me, it's like, no, it's not. Just stop. Let's do it the right way. Do it so you can be proud. And you can build on this. You can talk about it. You can talk to your kids about what you did. I would be devastated if I made my money through scamming and I'd have to lie to my own children and go, oh, no, like daddy did this and this. And that's how no, really, I created a shitcoin and I fucking scammed a lot of people and then I just didn't do anything with it. I scammed the money and fucking bought a house with it. You go, nah, fuck that. Whereas there's plenty of people out there that are fine with that. They're fucking sociopaths. And they're probably even teach their kids to do the same and somehow justify it. So, yeah, I guess there's just two types of people in the world, isn't there? There's Bitcoiners and there's shitcoiners. And some shitcoiners are either inexperienced, but some are in on it and they're corrupt. So we'll leave them over there. The inexperienced ones, the naive ones, we can win them over. But there's some of them that they're smart enough to know what they're doing and they're just morally bankrupt.
We do always say that every Bitcoiner has a shitcoiner origin.
Yeah. But that's
everyone's gone through that stage, no matter how in depth. Like, I think you shitcoin a bit more because you were kind of like in the scene a bit more. Whereas I bought Ethereum, I bought XRP. I don't know what the fuck I was doing.
Yeah, exactly. You're not scamming now, are you? You're just experimenting. You don't know what you're doing. That's different. It's like buying. Most people come into Bitcoin with an investment mindset, and you go, "Oh, right, I'm not just going to buy one stock. Yeah, I'm going to buy some Amazon, some Facebook, some Google, some Tesla." You're diversifying. You're testing the markets. You come into Bitcoin, you go, "I'm going to diversify. I'm going to buy some of this, buy some of that," and then you suddenly realize, "Oh, fuck, no, this is not an investment. This is a revolution. Sorry, my mistake. Sell them, buy Bitcoin, and then you're off." And you go, "Oh, this is not a stock." So that's the mistake. It's not the fact that we are scamming. The fact that these people, I think, have figured all that out, go Bitcoin only and go, "Actually, I want more Bitcoin. How do I do that?" Scam. The scum. Yeah.
I think it's in most people's mind, though, isn't it, that there can't just be one initially. And so, therefore, I need to diversify. And then they learn a little bit more, and then they understand, and then they realize. But I've said this before, but when you start to understand Bitcoin, you have to kind of think of it on its own island by itself, because it's not like anything else, as opposed to trying to piece it up and believe that, oh, it's like this. Well, it's a little bit of that, but it's something else. And it's a little bit of that, and it's something else in terms of, it's a medium of exchange, but it's also a store of wealth. It's also a new technology. It's also decentralized. It's a lot of combinations and factors, which is why it's still a topic that, 111 pods later, we're still talking about, because it's so much. Go for it. Go for it.
I was going to say silence.
Were you going to say something, Dr. Evil? No.
No, I was just saying the silence. It sounds like we should maybe move on to the
final
I
was going to say, on that point, oh God, I've lost it now. Jesus Christ. But I was waiting. I thought you were going to jump in, and I was like, not going to jump in before you. All right, I've lost it. Last story.
I'll think of it in a minute.
Yeah, no, it's fine. But yeah, the last story, it's just a meme really. But I again, it's another thing I stumbled across on Bitcoin Reddit, which is just it's just a little chart really when you first discover Bitcoin, and you go really slowly when you're thinking about what is Bitcoin, and then you just go fucking all in. Holy shit, it's the future, and you run out of fiat.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, you just tick over slowly up because you just stay humble and stack sats. I just saw this chart and went, holy fuck, that's my journey into Bitcoin. Like almost identical. The only thing I'd actually correct on it, which is to my fucking pain, which is in that first little chart, first little graph where it just ticks up where you're going, what is Bitcoin? You're trying to discover it. I bought some Bitcoin and then I also sold that Bitcoin. So I actually went on that chart and I came down to zero. And then I carried on along because as I was doing that, what is Bitcoin? There was some big news that came out. I can't remember what it was now. It looked scary. And I'd like 3x my money. And I'd only put like 500 quid in or something. I went 3x'd it, made $1,000, thought I was a fucking genius, and came out of that and went, I'll just keep learning about Bitcoin, but I think the price is going to go down, so maybe I'll trade this. And as I'm during that journey, the price fucking 10x's on me. And then I have the holy shit, this is the future moment. And I just fucking go all in. So that the chart unfortunately doesn't go nice and linear for me. I kind of go up, come down to zero, go along, all in, stack sats.
I was thinking that I like the chart as well, but it should have more downs because, as we've all experienced, when you put fiat in, it typically goes down, doesn't it? And you're like, oh my God, what have I done?
No, but this is your Bitcoin allocation, not fiat.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
amount of Bitcoin you have.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, yeah. Yeah, as
I
opposed
think
to
mine would just be a massive pause for what 3 years while I did nothing. I had my like 500 quid in Bitcoin, XRP and Ethereum, but I kind of went, oh, it sounds really nice. And then it's
Yeah.
like, then it was a holy shit. And I don't think I really had a what is Bitcoin, because I think you've been talking to me about it for years. I'd ignored you, didn't really get it. And then it's just when all the lockdowns happened, I had that kind of like epiphany. I mean, it was like, shit, I need to plow money into this.
And then I
Very simple.
guess for the two out of the three of us, it's always I've done too much. I've done too much. That I can't do any more.
Like, are you all in? Then it's not too much.
Yeah, exactly. You always say this. It's too
The only
much.
time it's too much, I will always say there is a too much, and it's when you're taking on debt. Don't
Yeah.
take on debt.
I
That's
think it's a problem. Like the kind of like the hinge point is when you're trapped in the fiat world and your Bitcoin wallet isn't enough to drag you out of the fiat world.
Mm.
And that's a kind of like, it's almost like that knife edge. Like you either need Bitcoin to go haywire to obviously, 5x or 10x what you've got in Bitcoin. Or you need something big to happen, like another lockdown. You kind of go, this can't continue.
Yeah. But that's unfortunately what this chart shows. I think this is the journey a lot of people go on, which is you go baby steps into Bitcoin, then suddenly you fucking orange pill yourself and it goes off the charts. And then from then on, you just any money that comes in, you continue to stack sats. But when you can actually step out of the fiat rat race grind, that is person dependent. It depends how much cash you got sat on the sidelines, right? If you're not fiat wealthy, when you have that oh shit moment, and you can only convert £1,000 or something into Bitcoin, then yeah, you're not going to be telling your boss to go fuck himself anytime soon. You're gonna £1,000 of Bitcoin. If you stacked it right now, you'll keep it. But that's why the stay humble and stack sats is sat there. That's the journey everyone goes on, right? You tentatively play with Bitcoin. You realize, holy shit, this is the future. You convert most of your free assets into Bitcoin, and after that, you stack sats. So when you end up becoming financially wealthy and independent, that's all.
I think it's more like it's not the out of fiat, because I still have my fiat investments, and that's purely because the gamble could be we have Bitcoinization in 5 years, or it could be 50 years, and it's not being able to afford to put all of my assets within Bitcoin at the moment.
Yeah, you only hold as many fiat assets as you're willing to lose. So, depends what your risk strategy is. Sounds like you're doing quite a high risk strategy, so it's fine.
That's never high for Dr. Evil 10%.
Oh, it is high. It's just that he's got his risk upside down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think Bitcoin's high risk and fiat is low, but he's got it upside down. We should actually rename him Dr. Evil 90%. Because he doesn't know which way the risk chart goes. Bitcoin is the lowest risk asset there is.
Maybe we should have a viewers vote. It changes to Dr. Evil 90%.
He doesn't know which way around the risk chart goes. But no, I thought that was just a good story to end on, because it's just weird seeing that little chart, and then it didn't get that much traction on Reddit, but it just resonated. And I think weirdly, I think all three of us probably like we've got similar, and just about everyone I know that ever came to Bitcoin, that is their journey.
Yeah.
Baby steps, fucking all in, like whatever your equivalent of all in is. Yeah, like there's a big fucking lump goes in, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, you just consistently stack, and every stack
and you
really
sit there
you go,
going, and you go, what the fuck have I just done? I just bought magical internet money.
oh yeah, yeah. At the end of that whole like holy shit moment, when you actually convert your fiat into Bitcoin, you do think you're a fucking moron. I remember that feeling.
I just think to myself, I've got time to make it back. It's
Yeah.
as good as literally, it's as good as gone. It's as good as gone. Once it's there, as I said before, my main thing is if I put it into Bitcoin, I can't take it out. And so I'm always conscious that if it's in for life for a very, very long time.
Yeah. But I think when you first put it in, you go in, you're not even really thinking about, oh, I'm a lifetime hodler. This is probably going to go to zero now.
Yeah,
You have that
straight
whole,
away.
like
Yeah,
these intrusive thoughts come into your head, don't they? And you
yeah,
go,
it's
oh, I've been
zero.
scammed. Like this is too good to be true. Is this really going to be the new form of money? As if I found this when it's so cheap. What are
Yeah.
the odds? I know so many smart people that have not bought Bitcoin yet. And but then eventually all those kind of fear feelings subside. And after like 6 or 7 years where I am now, it's like, nah, I'm comfortable in my decision. It's all good. And but when you first do it, yeah, you just think you're the biggest smuck in there.
Well, mine is it also. Oh, Mr. All-In is right again. Again. Cool. Right. Well, there you have it. Pod 111, the 4Bs, brought to you by Mr. All-In, aka the $1 trillion man, Dr. Evil 90 stroke 10%. Who knows? We'll find out on the next show, aka the People's Champ, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution, and Mrs. No Show. Still, 111 pods in, no show. Peace.